Hello, adventurers, and welcome to Roll For Bluff, our talk show where we discuss our ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, Bards and Noble.
Whoop, whoop.
I am Sam, and I play Calamine. To my right, we have Tristan, who plays Soren Thunderfist, and to my left, Brandon, our Dungeon Master.
I play everyone else.
They'll be joining me as my co-hosts on this podcast, and they're also my minions of the night. And tonight we are continuing our story in The Terror in the Tower.
Bum, bum.
So
what happened?
Sorry, Sam. So where did we leave off?
So we left off. The party had decided to leave Sonderheim and travel back to Humbleton. And we kind of had an uneventful little start of our travel there, but not too long after that, we ran into the Tower of Worms.
They did. They saw a sign that said warning, Tower of Worms ahead. Which they were like, wait, what?
Dragons.
Like, it's not spelled W-O-R. It's not like a bunch of like earthworms.
That was what my first
on
thought
the
was.
ground. It's not like a large pile of earthworm just like wiggling around.
We'll see. It was one of those things where you don't know D&D well enough. It was one of those things like Tower of Worms. Like, what are we about to buy? Like these like Alaskan bullworms or something?
No, it's not Alaskan bullworm. No, it's W-Y-R-M-S. So worms isn't a colloquial term to call dragons. And while they were going, they looked up in the sky and they saw
A tower
and a dragon flying around. They saw the shadows. They're like, everyone, like,
it's a dragon. Crap, it's a keeper.
oh God, no, please, not here. And so they continued carefully up to the entrance, to which they were greeted by Norton. An orc.
Because he was shouting at us from like a
He's
watchtower.
like, what are you doing?
We're trying to get to Humbleton.
What? And that's when the group Rhaegorn, he noticed Rhaegorn, and that's when Garth, a human sorcerer, also noticed Rhaegorn, was like, wow, there's not a lot of you. Come on in. And when they enter...
Wasn't there like a little bit of panic?
Yes.
Like, to get us in? Like, because the tower was getting ready to move?
Yes.
And that's where we found out the tower...
The tower was getting ready to move, and as soon as they entered into the area of the tower, it transported to what they quickly found when the time had shifted, the clouds looked different, and then pretty much the atmosphere looked different. They had been transported to the Feywilds. And there was just stacks on stacks on stacks of dragons. Some in like wormling form, some in dragonborn form, some in like humanoid form walking around because they polymorphed. Some in like full-on adult dragon just zip-zamming around the tower. The tower is... Saying the word tower is more of a small city in radius that had a large tower in the middle that both went up into the sky and down into the earth. So, and there were fixed points where it could go. And so they had stumbled into an area that they only found because instead of doing like a path I thought they'd take,
Where you just beeline.
they just went beep, 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 boo. And I was like,
because we were just making a beeline for Humbleton.
yep. And I did not anticipate that. I anticipated you guys to go get supplies in Dramic and then head over. But you guys were like, nah, fam.
Well, we gotten some supplies from Sonderheim, so...
I expected you guys would get a little more. So they've encountered the Tower of Worms.
And they let us in because we had Rhaegorn.
And Rhaegorn, as they found out, was the great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandchild, there we go, of the leader of the Gold Dragons, named Daldrin, who they found and discussed with and connected with. I keep doing that. Connected with, just jittery. Talking about dragons.
Well, we found that out because they take extensive records of anyone with any kind of dragon lineage.
If you're important dragon lineage.
So he was like, I'm Rhaegorn Buzztooth. They're like, oh yeah, we got record of you. You're related to someone here. And they were like, oh.
What? Rhaegorn was like, what?
My parents are dead.
So, the group had been given a place to stay as long as they were there. They were also, as soon as they realized they were in the Feywild, they're like, wait, we had to get somewhere. Which they had been assured they'll meet with somebody and just like make plans with that.
Right.
So for Rhaegorn, from what I know, he was very flabbergasted and very like taken aback that he had any sort of family that he knew, and that it was as old and powerful as it was.
Right.
He was definitely very, very interested in learning more about his family because he pretty much spent most of the time while you guys were there doing that.
He was doing research through the records, talking to other dragonborns, talking with his grandfather. I mean, and one of the conditions of us staying, because what was it? We were like, well, we need to get to Humbleton. They're like, well, we're going to enter back to that plane a little bit. But if you guys want to land back closer to where you want, you have to do us a
closer
favor.
to the time where you want.
Right,
Yeah.
Seeing how it's that kind of thing.
It's like a TARDIS.
Yes.
Time and space.
They asked us to do a favor the following day. This is before we got to go do a bunch of the other stuff. It was like, you got to do us a favor. You got to take care of something that's at the in a dungeon underneath the tower. We'd gotten a very brief explanation. It was
a rowdy dragon that was being held there captive needed to be taught a lesson.
Right, and they were looking for someone else to do their dirty work.
Yep.
And we were like, yeah, sure. If it helps us get if we were like, oh, you're gonna drop us off like immediately after we left it, closer to home, great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we agreed to that, and that's where we spent a lot of time with Rhaegorn
And Daldrin and going around exploring the town.
Right.
Going to different events and festivities. And then you talked with Garth and Norton about, because he investigated, he detected magic and was like, something weird's going on with you guys. And that's when you guys exposed your Clockwork Heart.
Right.
And
was that after we had a fight? And that's why...
That was, exactly. Something weird was going on. He left it alone. You guys went in the morning after you stayed with Daldrin tonight. There was an attack by clockwork beasts.
Right, because they had ripped a hole in the fabric of reality.
And transported themselves to an area they shouldn't have been able to.
This sounds like a Doctor Who episode.
And so they had infiltrated the Tower of Worms and attacked a few people. The group went and saved them and chased down Clockwork Being and eventually took it down. It ran away and you guys eventually caught up and no! Which then led Garth and Norton to interrogate you.
What the heck?
How'd they get here?
Right.
And that's when you explained everything going on about the Clockwork Heart. And that is when you learned something special about the Clockwork Hearts. When you guys were all he was like, I'm going to try and destroy this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys were like, wait, hold on. That's not a good idea. Let's not do that. And then you guys were like, we're going to back up. We're going to back.
Because he tried to what?
Fireball it.
Which doesn't make the most sense to me, but...
I mean, he was a sorcerer of a red dragon.
Oh, okay.
His bloodline was dragons. So it was I'm burning. So he fireballed it. It did not work, and it had an adverse reaction where it kind of...
Hellish
rebuked. And hit him as well as a few other people.
Right.
And that is where something peculiar happened. Because in that moment, 2 of the party members...
had disappeared.
And everyone was like, did they get vaporized?
And that's when we found out, or that's where the 2 people that disappeared found out they were what?
After they had been...
No. Yeah. Where'd those 2 people go, Sam?
So, my journal, apparently. we got sucked into the journal.
They blew Skadooed.
Who did?
Me and Liren, Cal and Liren, got sucked into the journal.
You saw the pages and everything.
Yes, where we saw the pages and words and the voice of somebody who was calling us daughters. And we were also attacked
by ink creatures.
By Bendy and the Ink
Not
Machine.
clockwork ink creatures, just regular old ink creatures.
Demonically ink creatures.
Like I said, Bendy and the Ink Machine.
Pretty much. So you guys took good care of them.
You guys did really well with that. That was hardly anything. You guys
had a good team where you guys had a good
you guys
balance back and
those.
forth.
Right.
And that ended with because you guys, was it both of you or one of you decided to figure out?
I stabbed the page.
That's when you guys were both blacked out for a while, and you had a vision,
right,
from somebody who looked very powerful and menacing, and looked at each one of them, and they could see each other in this dream, and was like, my dearest daughters have returned home. So, and then they woke up back in the Tower of Worms. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
It was great. Good time was had by all.
So, and that's when we realized the fireball didn't work, and that's where Garth was like, "Well, that didn't work." So
That didn't work.
then
We're gonna
he
acid.
Yeah, he did acid, and that's when we found out that he could melt it essentially.
With enough constitution and force and effort, you could theoretically melt them.
Right, and that was the first time we had seen a heart get destroyed because we were holding on to one. Well, no, we had two at the time.
We had 2 at the time, yeah.
You didn't know about one. You
because that's right because we had found pieces of another one in the foundry essentially.
and then you put them into a box, and you're like, oh, nothing weird's gonna happen here.
And then they
They molded themselves together.
They pulled an iron giant.
Creepy.
And then they're like, beep, beep, beep.
So we saw one get destroyed, which gave us hope that we can destroy things.
Right.
Now that's so we had that happen. It was like, well, this is some shady shit. We'll come back to this later. You and Liren had a little bit of a heart-to-heart
Liren and I
conversation.
had kind of had a conversation in which she kind of revealed that a little bit of her backstory as far as the death of her parents at the hands of the person who would wind up adopting her, who was Titavillis.
And she revealed that Titavillis was her adoptive father to only you.
Yes.
The demon of, I discussed this in the previous episode, but the demon of information, lies, deceit, and pretty much all the nice things you say to people.
Which is a
right, nice things.
It's a miracle Erin turned out the way she did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, after that, that's when we were like, okay, cool. Like Raycorn had come back from doing some more research. We had stayed inside
Daldrin's
house for a while.
You got cookies.
We got cookies.
Dragon cookies.
So after that, then it was time for us to hold up our end of the bargain
and go into the tower.
Go into the tower. Go down. And take care of any funny business.
Which I remember you saying we got extremely lucky with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because there was that time because we had done a few things, fought a few little things.
Ran quickly away from zombie beholders.
We had opened up a door.
To a room full of
This was probably where we were the most lucky.
Yeah.
Opened up a door to find a red dragon. Because he was with a bunch of wealth, like.
Oh yeah, he was the treasurer.
He was
the treasurer.
Sleeping.
He was a sleeping red dragon. Because it was Cal who would stealth through the door, like. Because Grant, that was one of those times where because we usually overboard go stealthing through doors, checking for traps, because we're all really suspicious.
Don't be suspicious.
But this was one of those times where we were really glad that Cal had done that, like. And we're like.
That's why the rogue should probably as much as you don't want the rogue in the front, like in the battle lines, should probably go first through doors and stuff, get those traps taken care of, and get sneaking in.
I think Brandon's waiting for me to start kicking open doors.
I am Sorn! Dragon wakes up. I am Sorn!
Sorn has left the building. And picks up door, puts it back.
Go back, sleep.
You don't see Sorn.
So before they entered the tower, they were told that the tower is always shifting and changing, and only a few certain people could navigate it because it always was changing and shifting in case people tried to break in or go places they weren't supposed to. They were never given a clear path. They were never given.
They were basically just like, oh, go on in, good luck.
Right, because this was a puzzle that we could not figure out with all the dragon statues with their hands outstretched.
We never did figure that out. Which kind of bothers me because I like puzzles. So
it was almost more of like I think we felt like we were a bit more on a time crunch.
Yeah,
or it was that we really couldn't figure it out. But I think it was there was people that were like we're just wasting time. Let's just keep opening doors and see what happens. So we spent a long time in the dungeon just trying to find anything, and we eventually did. We got to a door, opened it, walked inside, and that's where we saw was it a young black dragon
in a pool, a deeper pool. It looked like a swamp because that's where black dragons live, is in swamps and marshes and things like that. So it was replicating home, but it also was accompanied by some dragon scaled kobolds and a few fairy dragons.
I thought they were wormlings.
We did fairy dragon wormlings.
Oh, well,
tiny dragons.
I'm like my brain took me back to the terms that they were using, like wormlings, right?
Yeah. So they had a nice battle where I nearly got you.
Yeah, that was close.
Yeah. Because that was we dispatched the kobolds and the wormlings pretty easily. But we had battled to the point where, like, Sorn, he runs in. He had gotten close to the edge and he got dragged in. And then, of course, Cal, right? He was like, I'll help. And then walked over the edge, got pulled in immediately as well.
2 hands, folks.
I think Sorn had done an electric attack to try and amplify it in the water. I think it hit Cal as well.
It did. It knocked Cal unconscious.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I knocked Cal unconscious.
And then Cal was unconscious underwater.
Yeah.
And it pretty much... I got 2 of you down.
Yeah.
And then Leon was like, don't worry, guys, I'll ice knife it. And then the group was like, wait, if you do that, you'll kill Cal.
There was like a moment that it was like, no, stop, don't do that.
So I think it was Bilal had like chimed in going, no, I can see Cal unconscious.
You're like, Cal's within 5 feet. She can't make a dex save right now. She's
She will
unconscious.
fail.
She will die.
So did it come down to, I think...
Because she already failed at 1 death save.
Right.
So
Yeah.
instant, anything like that is 2 instant
Right.
death, which
So
would
Cal would
have
have been
Yes.
dead, and we no longer had plot
Rest
armor.
in peace.
You no longer had, they no longer had plot armor because they were above level 5.
Yeah.
Right. Was it Sorn that, because he had thrown his hammer, or did he...
He got knocked out of his hand.
He got knocked out of his hand. Did he take it out with another punch, or was it another electric attack that...
No, it wasn't electric. You stopped
No.
doing electric in the water.
That's right.
I think it wound up being Lyran had wound up. Didn't she wound up shaping the water instead to try to?
She shaped water out so you weren't completely submerged.
Right,
You went,
right.
"Pow!"
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so she had shaped water out, and then I had gotten the final blow.
Knocking it unconscious.
Knocking it unconscious. I mean, luckily I did it because I didn't have my hammer because I had got knocked out, so I did it with my fists. Yay! And so it was unconscious. Lyran had continued to shape water out so that we could find the hammer.
Much she could, and then put the water back in so the dragon could be in its home.
Right, because we made a point because we were instructed to teach it a lesson, not kill it.
Because
Right.
when you walked in,
Mm-hmm.
what do you remember what it said?
It was something sweet and innocent and
It
cute.
was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt them.
We saw that after the fight.
No, he was like, no, go away. Are you with the man? And then you guys were like, and then he, like, the kobolds attacked.
He said it in Draconic, though. So
Yeah,
so
only
not-
Rhaegorn.
So only
So
Rhaegorn
but Rhaegorn didn't even
understood it.
Yep.
say anything.
So the dragon was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it. And then the group was like, it's being mad at us. And Rhaegorn was like, yes, it's being mad at us. Let's get it.
Right. So that's where, was it Bilal and Rhaegorn? No, it was Cal and Rhaegorn were walking around the room.
Yeah, we were investigating the room and we wound up going through like some.
Your investigation was high enough where you pushed a brick. It
Yeah.
opened a tunnel. You didn't roll an investigation of that room?
No, before that, though, that's where Rhaegorn had read the wall and
Yeah,
said,
and
it
said-
said, like, I didn't mean to do it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's but written
Don't
in
let the
Draconic.
bad man come back.
Right, and it was written in Draconic along the walls, and that's where Rhaegorn told us it didn't say anything.
And everyone was like,
We're
we
like-
know it says something.
Right, so then Rhaegorn was like, okay, bye, and walked away.
And then
Yeah.
you didn't roll an investigation on the tiny room. You're like, oh, it's a tiny room. And Rhaegorn was like,
Yeah,
what's
it's
in
a-
here? And there was
a teleport.
a teleportation circle on the ground. And it's activated when you step in it. So it went... And then Cal was like,
I just see Rhaegorn disappear and I'm like, shit, and just goes in after him. Like,
Yes, because that was the logical thing to do.
I mean, I didn't want to leave him alone, like defenseless and scared.
Well,
So
it
that
could've
left
been vaporized.
Liren, Bilal, and
Sorn.
in there with the baby dragon, who
Right.
they learned its name after it woke
Well,
back
because
up.
someone did comprehend language, or
It was Liren.
Liren. Because that's where we found out what the wall said, and that's where we're like, oh crap, this is a baby. We punched a kid.
Be the crap. guys, we didn't know.
Punch the kid.
So it came.
So that's where I think that was one of the defining factors why Sorn and Liren both, because Bilal also went to follow you guys eventually.
Eventually, but
Eventually,
that was
that was
after,
later,
That was
yeah.
after Liren sent Cornelius.
Right.
Yes, because Liren sent Cornelius.
Right.
First.
So let's so before we get to what happened with Sorn and Liren, let's go to what happened with Rhaegar and Cal after they went
so
poof.
Cal and Rhaegar were transported to this, to basically
a landing. They're
They're at,
landing
the
looking
very,
like
they're at the very top of the tower.
Yeah, we're at like the top of the tower in this really nice room where there's like this huge, like everything's like adorned and like gorgeous, and there's this really big table with these little gems on it. And the gems are different colors.
And Rhaegar goes...
And Rhaegar's like...
That sounds gold.
Who is a gold dragonborn, was like, oh, let me touch it. So
it's gold.
he touches it, and the gem started radiating.
They started
humming.
to hum and like activate. And they kind of understood, and if you didn't understand, it's because he was a lineage from Daldrin.
Right.
So he had legitimate claim to...
the High Elder of the Gold Dragons.
He was the leader of the Gold Dragon group,
and
so
because of that blood lineage.
he was able to activate it.
Yeah.
And it summoned the Council of Dragons, which is every chromatic and metallic. I know that's not normally how it's done in D&D, but in my world, this is far enough into the future of like the material plane and the dragons that yes, the chromatic dragons are still evil and the metallic are still inherently good, but they come together to manage the affairs of dragonkind above all else.
Right.
Because of the calamity and large scale wars and like liches and things like that who bring ire and issue to across the domain and could infringe on the draconic like blood right to own certain things, that the group came together to pretty much form a council that's like, you guys do your thing, as long as we're not doing anything too terrible or against our code, you can do whatever you want. But we do have to run the ship sometimes.
All right, so once it starts humming, it summons all the dragons, and they're all like, who the heck called us? And Rhaegar's like, hi! And they're like, what the hell?
Who the hell are you?
He's like, I'm Rhaegar. He's like, well, he has to be lineage because he activated it.
Who's your father?
And he's like, Daldrin's my great grandfather.
You're like, Daldrin.
But that's where we found out that they were like, well, we were going to call a meeting anyway, so we might as well have it now.
Yeah, they called it a week early.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But Cal was instructed to sit off to the side, shut up.
Oh, Cal wasn't going to say shit.
No, she wasn't going to, but
Cal
she was
like over by the curtains being like, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me.
She was still instructed to sit there and be quiet.
Because Cal does not like birds. And what are dragons but scaly birds?
Basically.
Giant scaly birds.
They're the same thing. This one's bigger.
And breathe fire.
Yeah,
exactly. And so Rhaegar's trying to explain
like
how he got there, and they're like, shut up.
Just stop talking.
We're going to have her meet. And a lot of it was spent just waiting, because they were waiting for all of them, because there was...
It's very tense.
Right. And like, because there was one that was supposed to... that's always called but never shows up. But then they never really expect him to. They're like, we'll give him a little time just in case he does. And during that time, Bilal has been investigating the room downstairs enough to wander into the teleportation pad and boop.
And immediately, that was Cornelius.
That's true. We had Cornelius had wandered into it by himself, but he had done it stealthy enough.
He popped up and he was like, and then Liren went through his vision and was like, okay, I can't control him, but he should know to go to.
And it was one of those things where it was like, okay, it was a teleportation pad, and Bilal was like, okay, sounds good. Teleportation pad.
And that's when it was like, who the hell is he?
Like,
Cornelius had hidden behind Cal, who would like come over, and Cal was like,
Cal was like, don't let them see you. They're dragons. They're scary.
I'll protect you, Ferdinand.
So Bilal was essentially instructed to do the same. You know, sit down and shut up. And then after that, that's where
Bilal pretty much was like, "There's two more," and that's when
the black dragon started to wake up.
Yes, and it talked to you.
Right, Soren had sat on the edge of the pool that had been filled again. And after learning what it was like, oh, it's a child saying I didn't mean it, like, and
that's someone looking like Garth.
Right. Well, this is where you again that follows the trend that Soren has a soft spot for animals and children, like, and because he had realized that he had done harm to a child dragon who apparently is troubled or is innocent, he felt terrible. So he's sitting there talking to, what was it? It starts with an A.
Arturian.
They exchanged name, and Soren apologized and was like, I'm sorry. I mean, I'll do anything I can to help you. Especially after, like you said, we found out that someone that looks like Garth had been abusing him and hurting him. And he was like, I'll make sure that he doesn't do it again. And then Lyran's like, so yeah, it is a teleportation pad. All three of them are up there. They're okay. They're just told to sit there and be quiet.
And then you guys are like, okay.
We're okay. But now before we go up,
that is when Arturium's grandfather, the Black Dragon,
the one that never shows up,
showed up.
Showed up
And was like, what?
like, who called me?
He was like, this is irregular. Our meeting was scheduled, and now we're being summoned now. So he was like,
I was planning on skipping, but now I
I
can't.
have something going on. So he shows up.
He's not a pleasant guy.
No. And that is when he was like, what are these these commoners doing here?
What are these non-dragons doing
here?
here?
And so that is when they had to explain, like, we were sent in, and then Bilal or someone spilled the beans, like, oh, we went to take care of a black dragon, a young one, and he was like...
Actually, I think it was Rhaegorn that spilled
Rhaegorn,
the beans.
Rhaegorn, yeah. Rhaegorn, again, is the one that has, like, no filter whatsoever.
And then the black dragon was like, what? You did.
He had, like, a brain aneurysm.
And, of course, unbeknownst to any of us... Because was it Lyran went up first, or did me and...
Lyran went up first.
Lyran went up first, and they're like, what the heck?
And Bilal was like, there's another one, just wait.
So I just show up, and then Soren...
was like, come on,
was like,
I'll take you out of here.
He was like, we'll get you out of here. And he takes Arturo through the pad, they teleport up, and he has... they turn her... Because they're facing outside, like, everyone's sitting behind them.
Arturium polymorphed.
Yeah, he went back to being like a 10-year-old child. As all the dragons are in this room.
They all look regal and presentable, but they're also there in their humanoid form because trying to fit a bunch of dragons into a room like that.
Yeah,
very impractical.
Having them sit down in chairs.
You learned that the red dragon was the one who was
yes.
You're like, oh, thank God we didn't wake him up.
Yes, very glad for that.
So yeah, we had poofed up, and then I had Arturo behind me. We were facing out. Turned around. I put him back behind me. I was like, oh, no, let's stand back. When they were like, oh, what is going on? And of course, grandfather was like, my boy!
He's like, that's my child! Who did this? And that's when I was like, well, Garth sent us down there. And then Arturium was like, yeah, like, man, look like that. Who came and did mean stuff. And they're like, get him here now! And then pretty much everyone was like, any one of these things could kill us.
Anything could happen.
It was one of those moments where, like, we were in a room just full of
dragons.
Dynamite, and at any moment
someone had a match.
I don't even think dynamite.
Somebody was holding the match, but we didn't know who.
See, I don't even think dynamite does it. We were in a room full of dragons.
Just,
dragons,
very intense.
Lots and lots of dragons.
All of them, at least elder or ancient,
and angry,
and upset that this was happening.
Yes.
I don't think dynamite would cover.
I think if anything would have happened, like just sort of like
a
thinking in my head, like. I think Cal's first reaction would have been to jump off the tower. I will take a very long fall and a splat over being murdered by dragons.
So, just to let you know, if you would have done that, dragons have a faster flying speed than your falling speed.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Hey, bye! Worth shot.
You would have been like, wee! You're going nowhere. No!
So
Garth and Norton was summoned, and Garth looked a little more on edge and angry. And Norton was like, what's going on? Like, I'm just here to like protect everyone and do what I can.
I'm not smart enough to do anything stupid.
Like, they're like, did you have anything to do with it? And they insided check, and he was like, no. What?
I'm just here.
And then Garth, after a little bit of interrogation, was like, and revealed that he was not Garth. He was an impersonator.
Indeed, with the clock heart.
With a clock heart, and he went for Arturium, the young black dragon, and managed to grab him, and Soren was so close to like knocking him out of the way and getting there. Because when he grabbed the black dragon, he put out a scroll and did teleportation.
So Soren failed to... he tried, but failed to try and save him. And then they went poof poof. And then Grandpa Black Dragon went
was
nuts.
He was like,
he like pulled out just like...
he turned into a dragon and flew out and spewed acid.
Yeah, he jumped
everywhere.
off and just like spewed acid and like screamed, and he came back and he was like, I will have no part in this council. I will see you all in hell.
Because all he knows is that they have hired someone to entrap his grandson, who he's been looking for.
Yes, he's been looking for his grandson.
Because Garth had said that Daldrin had told him to do it, and this is the same Garth that went poof poof.
So
So Daldrin took the blame for
But
it.
then regular Garth showed back up.
it was like, what do we want?
What's going on?
And then everyone was like, what?
Let's arrest that man.
And so Garth was arrested. Norton was like, I guess I'm going to go with Garth. So Daldrin imparted some final words of wisdom onto Rhaegorn and said that he'll probably have to be summoned again here soon if Daldrin isn't released. They noticed when Daldrin was cuffed that he looked very pale and tired, and he wasn't able to he looked like his energy was being sapped from him. And so everyone was like, well, that was interesting. I guess we're going to have to meet again anyways.
Yeah.
We gotta figure this stuff out.
Right, and so they were like, well, I guess we have to kind of do your run because you've done what you were asked.
Even though it was terrible, but you also tried to save him, and you showed the corruption.
I think that was part of our saving grace, was even with Soren trying to save from Garth, and it's as they were leaving. I know Soren was like, he vowed that if he can do anything he can to save the boy, he will, including sacrificing himself, because again, it's soft spot for kids. To which
But he was
one
also told. Well, one of them was like, "That was very nice. Like, we'll do it. Like, that's nice." But then
they were like, "Screw you!" Essentially,
they were like, "You're never allowed back."
Yeah, we were banned.
Right.
Be gone, thoughts.
And, I mean, this is, and of course, I know for me, one of the dragon on the council had given a symbol of Thor, like small and.
It was the brass dragon.
Was it the brass?
It was the brass dragon who was there instead of his father because his father was ill.
Okay, I mean, and I'm sure that will be something that we come back to eventually.
Yep, eventually. So you guys were
read-
dropped off outside of Humbleton, but not.
No, we left it. We left. We were brought down to the hotel room, set outside, and not where we were told.
You were outside at a different time in a different place.
Right.
So they were like, we'll put you back. Who knows when?
Yeah.
Which worked out. I mean, it was highly dependent on what you guys did, depending on when you guys were dropped off.
Right.
So because of what happened and how it happened and everything, how it shook down, you guys kind of got like one of the worst options where you guys dropped off and when, because it took time to get there, and also you dropped off later than expected. Right. So that gave some time because everyone was like, "You guys have been gone for like a week."
Yeah. And so we were banished. Rhaegorn was told that he might be called back to take his grandfather's place. And that's where, we walked out and we're like, we're kind of further out than we thought we were going to be, and I have a feeling it's not close to
everything's bad.
And that's where we turned, and did we see that there was a glow coming from Humbleton?
A soft one in the distance.
Yeah.
And then you guys continued on, and that is where eventually you were approached by a Fire Ganassi paladin named Francesca.
Right.
de Tatorte.
Right. She had popped up because we had just showed up out of nowhere to talk to us about that. And that was more or less before the more current arc that we're going through. So
that will be finishing here shortly. So question time. Get some insight. So, what did you guys think about the whole situation with the young black dragon Arturium?
I mean, for Soren, it's so conflicting because he's being told like, "Hey, this thing is ready to destroy." And of course, from that the background of Goliath, I mean, like taking down a dragon or something similar to it is a big deal. So he's told like, "Hey, look, here's a big black bad dragon that's causing trouble. Take it down. Don't kill it, but just take it down." Soren's like, "You got it, fam." And he goes for it, but to find out that it's an innocent child, because again, coming from his background, because he had brought up a story to the dragon after that he had woken up, and then he was trying to like get a little bit like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I understand where you're coming from." He had given stories such as like, "Oh, when I was a kid, since I was so much bigger than kids my age, I'd accidentally hurt them because I was dealing with humans versus Goliaths."
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, high five!" Ah! My hand is shattered.
Yeah, Cal the whole time was just like, dragons fuck.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit if he's a kid.
Yeah, no.
I know Liam was just like, "Oh,
right," which was Soren's more or less. Bilal was probably, I imagine, more intrigued than anything else because Bilal's very much, he wants to solve a lot of these mysteries. Rhaegorn Rhaegorn's was a different mindset because he didn't even tell us of what was going
Yeah.
on.
Rhaegon was like, "There's two. Like I don't owe you guys anything right now. This is my area."
Right.
Yeah.
Racist.
Draggers. So, do you guys have any ideas on how or why the clockwork got there?
My guess is that
demon magic.
I was gonna say, I imagine, especially if they're trying to build into like taking over the,
Multiverse.
yeah, they're gonna be like finding their ways in. I mean, because they all you gotta do is put the clockwork art in someone that can already do getting into the phase and stuff like that,
or who can
or even creatures
like
and
use
stuff that
like
can do it.
portals or something.
Yeah.
Teleport.
Yes, or let people just waltz it into a place.
Yeah, like us. I mean, we did carry hearts into the building, so that's already.
You carried two.
We didn't want to give it to anyone else.
I understand that. I mean, it's you guys kind of caused that.
Yeah, I assume at this point we did. So I mean, yeah. So like the Black Dragon situation it's one of those things where not everything is what it seems, and so it's almost like heartbreaking for some of these characters, like Soren and Lear. Like, oh my gosh, it's a child who's just trying to learn and is misunderstood. Where people like Cal are just and Rhaegar are like, well, we got a job to do, get it done.
Yeah. Well, I think for a good part of this too, like I know for Cal, I spent a good portion of this time drinking.
That's true because your journal has been in overload.
Yeah. And maybe a little bit of guilt for the whole Kikyo thing. Maybe. Just a little.
Well, because after this, you're seeing the ghosts. You're seeing 3 different ghosts that are haunting
and
you.
You had to make constant wisdom saves,
right?
Like,
and
not
the
go
only
insane.
way to get them out of your vision was to be drunk.
To be drunk enough where her brain wasn't working, and there was a disconnect between the journal and yourself.
Yeah. So this whole thing was just like one drunken dream,
right?
For me.
So what do you guys think about the what do you guys think of the Dragon Council?
I like the
Dragon
Council.
I thought it was really cool.
Right, the Dragon Council. It's like if anything, it's almost what you always picture what's going to happen as far as when there's different colored dragons. You almost imagine that there's a council of them where they all meet and talk and they all have something to say.
And half of them are assholes, and the other half are like, okay, whatever.
Okay, guys.
But I mean, because especially with them being that kind of creature where they're sentient and they're not just animals out in the wild. They're dragons. They're elders. You almost imagine like they're going to care about dragon kind more than anything else. So they have to have like some kind of council. But of course, you almost have to have at least one of them that's at odds with all of them. It's like let's just take over the planet. They'll stop killing dragons.
Like no,
like no, that would be worse. Like no, it's the best option.
So what about Soren and Cal? I know. Well, hold on. Cal, dragons are bad. Dragons are nasty. They're weird. I don't like them.
Basically.
I mean. Soren is fat again because of his intrigue, especially with these more mystical type.
Because you tried to pet one.
I tried to pet. Well, it was it a wormling?
Yeah,
it was a wormling that I tried to pet. Well, which
is really weird when you think about the fact that they can like polymorph into children and stuff.
No.
Those
are baby.
The baby dragons, like the wormlings, don't know how to do that yet. They're stuck as dragons for them.
Okay. Right.
Young dragons. Wormlings are different.
Well, he had reached out his hand to make contact because they were on like some floating platform.
It was like, no.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when we go stay with Daldrin, he has his 2 kids there, and Soren's playing with them, and whether
Polymorph, the weight's still the same. So.
Yeah, but luckily Soren is Soren, or else because if it was like Cal or even Balal, they could have been crushed. Balal was almost at one point because he had went down with the Karak's instrument and tried to play a tune. And Soren had told stories of Rhaegorn's triumphs because he was like, "No one's these guys aren't going to want to hear about Soren's triumph." Like he had twisted some tales, like Rhaegorn was the ultimate champion in the Colosseum and stuff.
And the kids were just like, "Oh my god!"
They were dabbing. Yeah. So I mean, like as far as Soren goes, I mean, just being in this area is so fascinating and so interesting. Like he went with Rhaegorn to one of the record places and.
He just looked at all the general history.
Yeah.
And couldn't get into the super secret Golden Dragon Sanctum.
Well, he couldn't get past the lobby, but...
No, yeah, he couldn't go
because he's a Goliath.
To have it go past the lobby, you have to be a dragon and have like one of the colors, and you can only head to certain areas based on the color.
Right. So... I mean, that's one of those things. So I think Soren was fascinated by even just being there, and he just feels bad that it's like it left on a sour taste. I beat up a child. Great.
What did you guys think about Daldrin taking the fall? Or something they had nothing to do with.
Soren sees it as noble, seeing that if when the truth comes out, he'll be fine. That it sucks for the situation he is, and he's doing his best to protect those who are innocent. So that's how Soren sees it.
Nah, Cal was like, "This is garbage," but they're dragons. So
he's the only nice one. But this garbage. I'm not gonna say anything, but he's garbage.
he's the only
it
nice
was
one.
one of those things
but
where
they're still dragons.
if they had been like not dragons, Cal probably would have said something, but because they were dragons and Cal's terrified of dragons, she was like, I am not doing anything.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So that pretty much concludes. The team was outside, pretty much on probably 2 miles away from Humbleton.
We could feel like there was something going on. We had met Francesca, who was kind of hinted that we were dealing with a little bit more, but Francesca will then give us a little bit more insight when we start talking about the next arc, which is
Rushed Realities. And we'll see you guys next time for that episode.